Bitcoin is quite low right now. Ethereum is quite low. The altcoins, they have suffered the most. Does it make sense to buy this current dip? When answering this question, we have to ask who is going to buy this dip? Are new people entering the space, or are the current holders accumulating more? So we are going to look at social metrics, as in how much excitement is there currently around Bitcoin or around crypto in general, and what can we infer from this data. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hi, so there is a very interesting website called TheBlockCrypto.com, and it has quite a few interesting charts, quite a lot of nice data. And we are going to look at that data and try to interpret this in the grand scheme of things. Does it make sense to buy this dip? And so the link to this website, of course, is in the video description as well. Now, I think there are two things to focus on. First of all, how active are the current investors that are already in the system? Second, how many new people are coming into the space? So let's first start with the second. How many new entrants do we see? And so one interesting to look at is the newly weekly Twitter followers of crypto exchanges. So those are people that are just joining crypto, that are looking for updates of Binance or FTX, etc. It's probably also highly correlated with the marketing efforts of those exchanges, right? And what we can see here is that since beginning of last year, we saw a steep rise, which is interesting, right? Because the Bitcoin price itself, it rose before all of this. So it seems like most people had been pretty late to the party. They joined the crypto exchanges when Bitcoin was already pretty high. The only thing that was really rising since beginning of 2021 was the altcoins. So when you look at Bitcoin dominance, that fell massively since beginning of 2021, right? So 72% of all of crypto was Bitcoin at the beginning of 2021. Now it's only 42%. So this is where the altcoin rally started. This is where the marketing and the adoption of the crypto exchanges started. This is not the number of followers, this is the number of new weekly followers, right, of Twitter. So this is basically a measure of growth. It's not at an all-time low, but it's definitely not elevated either. I'd call this medium growth. Now let's look at the Twitter followers of layer ones. I think this chart is not really properly labeled because Dogecoin is not really a layer one. BNB and Ethereum and DOT, of course, is. If we take out Dogecoin, then we've got that kind of a chart. So a lot of increase just recently in April. I'm not sure where this exactly stems from. Ethereum had never that much growth. I haven't heard of particularly interesting news that would warrant this. Quite surprising in my opinion, especially given the rather boring price action. It's interesting how we can see very similar chart patterns, even though we measure different things here, right? So this is the Twitter followers of popular services, right? So MetaMask being the top decentralized wallet, CoinGecko, Cointelegraph, CoinMarketCap, all info services around current prices. Again, a relatively low level. The high correlation between the activity charts and the price is also noteworthy. We had our top here in November of last year, another top in March of last year. That's the Bitcoin price. When we look here at the data, right, this was also May of last year, and here November of last year. So it seems like this is lagging a little bit. That's interesting, right? So first the price is peaking, then 2 or 3 weeks later, the activity on Twitter is peaking. This here is another expression of why Bitcoin dominance is going down. So this is the page views of Bitcoin's Wikipedia page. A very interesting metric. So a huge spike in the first rally, right, where we then had the crash in 2018. So this is where everybody bought Bitcoin. Then a constant low level for quite a while when the price also didn't do much, right? And then we had a slight revival in 2021, beginning of 2021, but nowhere as near as January 2018. So really what happened is a lot of accumulation of Bitcoin during the inactive times happened. People just dollar cost averaged. So a lot of new investors got onboarded over here. They were pretty convinced of Bitcoin. So they bought and bought and bought, which then helped to stabilize the price and grow it over the long term. Of course, under quite a bit of volatility, but still. And then what happened is once Bitcoin grew so high, people didn't necessarily buy Bitcoin because it already looked so expensive. They onboarded to all those exchanges to start trading altcoins. And so the activity, the research around Bitcoin wasn't anywhere as near as 3 years prior to that event. It was pretty low. It's still higher than during the crypto winter, right? During the depression. But really the hype was around the altcoins. And so the way this looks to me is that probably people will still simply just continue to dollar cost average. If attention stays low, then we can't expect massive price rallies, right? But we can expect a somewhat slow recovery because the people that get into Bitcoin, they tend to hold over the long term. At least that's what happened in 2019 and 2020. And I expect no different behavior in the coming years. Now, this is something that I find especially interesting, right? The newly weekly YouTube subscribers of influencers. Now, this is of course highly correlated also with the activity of the specific YouTuber. And the sample size here is not huge, right? YouTubers tend to get active the more eyeballs there is also on crypto, right? When nobody is watching crypto, there's no incentive to publish a lot of videos. When everybody watches YouTube and everybody searches for Bitcoin and various altcoins, that's then when you want to create a lot of content. So this is pretty much at an all-time low over here. There is another video made by Benjamin Cowen. I will also link that in the video description, where he has a bit more of a refined view of this. So he has new weekly YouTube subscribers of a few more channels, including his own. The overall trend doesn't look that different though, right? So we had the peak in the beginning of 2021. Currently, we are at a pretty low level. Now we come to the difference of new entrants versus existing investors. So this is the new entrants, right? Basically zero growth over here. When we look at existing users, right, we can see these are now the new weekly YouTube views. Okay, so this here is subscribers, basically at zero. This is views. So this comes from people that are already subscribed, that continue to be interested in crypto. So that's not zero, right? This is maybe a quarter or so of its peak. 25% of people continue to be interested in crypto. Those are the ones that over the very long term make the gains, right? If you are there when nobody is looking, when you buy up, when the prices are not hyped, then you position yourself to be in a good spot when the spotlight comes again to crypto. The main important thing is to simply just have long enough of a time horizon. A very similar situation can be seen here for the Reddit activity. So these are the new weekly crypto subreddit subscribers. So we've got a few subreddits: cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, ETH Trader, Ethereum. We had our spike beginning of last year, of course. Since then, the growth decelerated quite a bit. But when we look at the activity of those users, right, it's not falling that much, but it is still falling. A very similar picture to YouTube. The peak was at 20K. The current activity is at around 5K. So 1/4 of people that were interested at the beginning of last year are still active. So how can we interpret all of this? I think if we want to buy this current dip over here, then we should be willing to hold over the long term. We are now not in a hype phase. We are not going to shoot through the roof instantly. We are now pretty much to a similar situation to 2019, maybe beginning of 2020. If you believe long-term in the assets that you're buying, then simply continue to buy and watch the prices rise over the long term. But don't be afraid if there are temporary drops of like 40% in a single day, right? This was the Corona crash, by the way. So if you have a very long-term time horizon, then you should be able to weather this kind of volatility. That being said, nobody can time these bottoms perfectly, right? You need to be okay to see 30K again. Rather than panic selling then, you should be on the side to see this as an opportunity to dollar cost average even more, to buy even more. Even though most people are not interested in crypto at all, right? You're really going against the masses here. This might even become stronger of an effect the more time goes on. Activity is declining, so whoever picks up the pieces over here are the very strong hands, the diamond hands that buy anyways, that are so deeply interested in crypto that they are okay to be the outlier that they are okay to hold through bad times. This bottom here is not going to be bought by new entrants. If this turns around, it's simply people that have been involved in crypto at least since beginning of 2021, maybe even before that. There are of course ways to try to time the short term, right? With moving averages, for example. Currently we are below both the best exponential and best simple moving average. So I've backtested those. I've tried to find out what moving average works the best for Bitcoin. So in the short term, this does look scary. But when in doubt, simply zoom out, simply look at what Bitcoin has done over the years. It has grown by quite a bit. This regression channel over here, it's currently growing with approximately 70% per annum. So we are now quite low on this. It doesn't mean that we can't fall below this lower band, right? The band is currently at 32K roughly. During the Corona crash, we went around 30% below that. So the band was at 7.5K. We went down all the way to 5K. And so given the current high correlation between Bitcoin and the technology stocks in the US, if stocks don't go up anymore, then even this regression here might break. So be prepared for a lot of worst cases, invest for the long term, and if your time horizon is only short term, then at least brace yourself. The possibility of lower prices is very real because nobody is looking at crypto now. It's only the existing people that might be buying in, and the current sentiment around crypto, around the current market situation is not too bullish, right? Most people stay away. And when you stay away, you're obviously not buying. Even if the message in this video was not too bullish, I hope you'll still subscribe because I try to keep things objective over here. And rather than just getting some kind of random shill, getting videos that tell you that we are going to the moon, it's probably better to be realistic than too optimistic. A like on the video would be appreciated as well, of course. And if you haven't yet, feel free to join our public Telegram channel. It's the Bitcoin Strategy channel. Simply search for that within the Telegram app. There's also a premium membership. The link will be in the video description. If you want to know what the current Bitcoin on-chain data is saying, don't miss this video over here. There's a lot of value. So see you in that video, and thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.